So I'm sharing the beginning of my journey, getting diagnosed with hereditary amyloidosis. So originally, my grandson got diagnosed with epilepsy at the age of 2, and his doctors strongly recommend that he get DNA testing done with his parents. So it took his parents about 3 years to decide whether or not they were going to do the DNA testing. We were actually more concerned with him because epilepsy run on my mother's side of the family, so we just kind of assumed it may have been hereditary, but they wanted to do DNA testing, and I was with them when they did the counseling part of the DNA, and they did mention that it might be stuff coming up in his parents' DNA that wasn't previously known. So unfortunately for us, my daughter came back with the hereditary amyloidosis gene, which triggered the team asking for her parents, which was me and her dad, to get tested to see who carried the gene. Because obviously, for her to test positive, which was weird. So my grandson did not test for the gene. They tested him for the gene, but he didn't have the gene. My daughter tested positive for hereditary amyloidosis, and I took the test through my cardiologist's office that also have a amyloidosis clinic. So it kind of worked out for me because I was already in their system. I already work in healthcare. So it kind of worked out for me with getting a test and also being under a clinic like immediately after I tested positive. So with that, after my positive test came back in August of 2025, my first set of workups was in September 2025. So it took about 3 weeks to get scheduled and tested. I took a PYP nuclear medicine scan. I took all kinds of blood work, urine, uh, light chains, protein. It definitely was checking my proteins. Uh, the PYP scan came back that I didn't have amyloids in my heart, which is kind of important, but not really important because the reason why it's important, they checked, I didn't have them. Uh, Fortunately, my mother's is deceased, but her twin sister's alive, so she got tested. She was already experiencing a lot of the signs with amyloidosis, so when she took her test, they immediately started her on medication because she had amyloids throughout her body, but particularly in her heart, causing her AFib and the severe back pain, stenosis in her back. Like she's got diagnosed at end stage. And so right now we have 3 levels of family history to look at. Have my daughter in her 30s, me in my 50s, and my aunt in her 70s. So you have like a 20-year gap, 3 different generations, 23-year gap, 3 different generations, to look at what could possibly be for, probably all three, two of us at least. So it's a lot of information that I had to take in over a short period of time. So I didn't have the amyloids in my heart, but I also have a mild decline neurologically. I have a tremor on my left hand, carpal tunnel. I do have some polyneuropathy in my L4, L5. So I do have some decline. And in the middle of this workup, they did additional tests, which was a medicated stress test, which came back that I had some decline in my heart effractions when my heart was under stress. So that actually called for a cardiac cath. With that cardiac cath, it was discovered that I had three major blockages in my heart. One being the widowmaker, which was 100% blocked. So I didn't get the cath done. Actually, the cardiologist pulled out of the cath procedure because it was extensive work that needed to be done. And that's how I got to CABG times three. Because unfortunately I did have blockages and they were severe blockages that needed to be addressed. Thankful, grateful that I didn't have a heart attack, stroke, um, and that I started to work up for amyloidosis at the right time. So definitely have a lot of attention being paid to my heart moving forward because I do have this amyloidosis diagnosis is hereditary, and we're just right now in the middle of people in my immediate family getting the genetic testing done to see if they have it. I think is important for me anyway. I truly believe that getting diagnosed with this disease when I did help save my life, because when I look at the radiology aspect of it, three blockages, 80, 90, and 100% at the Widowmaker. The other two blockages was still major also. Taking this workup, and then on top of all this, I was asymptomatic. I didn't have no chest pain, no swollen ankles, no shortness of breath. I was asymptomatic walking around here. The week before I had my cardiac cath, I worked a 50-hour work week, which was normally my work weeks was about 50 to 60 hours a week. Never had any signs of having any cardiac issues. Normal EKG, normal echocardiogram. So it's definitely getting a workup for amyloidosis after I tested positive definitely saved my life. But like I said, it's been so you're looking at from August 2025 getting a diagnosis to December, the first week of December, getting major surgery. Definitely didn't expect it. Like I said, I'm always gonna say, as long as I can say it, very grateful, very thankful that things got diagnosed when they did, because if they did not, it could be a strong possibility I could not even be having this conversation right now. It's just like I said, it's been a lot to take in. Looking for some clinical trials. I actually got introduced to a couple of clinical trials for the amyloidosis. And just learning as much as I can about the disease. Glad that I live in a major metropolitan city, so we have three clinics here in the city that I live in that deal just with amyloidosis. So I'm at a smaller clinic, but they have everything that I need connected: neurology, hematology. The only thing right now that they're looking to get on board is GI, but thank God I don't have any GI issues right now. So that's part of my story, and I'm going to give y'all little increments of what it's like. Diagnosis before I got diagnosed, getting diagnosed with the genetic testing, which was the genetic testing was painless. When I say painless, swab my gums. They send the test in the mail, swab each of my gums for about 10 seconds each, put it in the mail within 2 weeks, around the 2 week mark. I actually got the results back with the phone call from the amyloidosis specialist stating that I was positive. And since then, it's just really been a learning journey. And that's what I look at this as, is a journey to learn about this disease that I had no, before getting diagnosis, had limited information about. Now I'm searching daily support groups. Support groups for me is important because I find that I'm one of, when I'm part of this support group. When I say one of other people or family members that have got diagnosed, and it's been a lot to learn. So with that, my next update, I'll talk about what it is to get diagnosed and the things I think you should probably do before even taking the genetic testing for amyloidosis. And one of the things I probably should have looked at more is my insurance policies and my health insurance to make sure they were up to date for the treatment that I would need in the future. So that'll be our next discussion.